spaces I've been. All the places and spaces I've been. All the places and spaces I've been. All the places and spaces I've been.
Hi, this is Leslie Silval. Welcome to Places and Spaces, where this is the place and you are in the space. On today's show, we'll welcome back College of San Mateo astronomy professor Darryl Stanford, who will be joined by fellow astronomy professor Justin Stevick. They will be talking about a couple of great astronomy events on campus. So coming up first, Darryl Stanford and Justin Stevick. And then we'll talk with jazz musician David Eshelman, who will be there to showcase his compositions and his work as a performer. KCSM Jazz 91.1. Good morning. I'm Leslie Stovall. We stream at kcsm.org. Welcome to Places and Spaces, where we have places and spaces of interest to you and cultural outlets that I think will really interest the whole world, actually, Bay Area centric. This morning, we're going to talk about astronomy, and it's had a controversial history, Galileo and whatnot. In the studio, we've got professors Justin Stevick and Darryl Stanford of College of San Mateo Astronomy Department. And they've got some great programming going on. It's on Friday, May 10th at 7 o'clock. The Sky Tonight. Hi there. Welcome, gentlemen.
Well, thanks for
Hi,
having
how
us.
you doing? How you doing?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. So tell us about the Sky Tonight and what's going on with that.
Okay, the sky tonight is so cool because what I'm going to be doing is showing you what you're going to be able to see in the night sky. Sky changes because, of course, lots of cool things are transpiring in our skies. I'll show you the moon if it's out, what phase it'll be. I'll show you the constellations, maybe a little bit of mythology, depending upon how much time that I have, but some funny stories about the constellations, some of the star names and what they mean, and where they come from, what their etymology is, generally Arabic, and the like. So I try to go from sunset to sunrise. And so, because some folks get up at the crack of dawn, I don't, but some folks do, they'll be able to see, I'll be able to show them what objects are visible, just before the sunrise and what's stuff like that. So that's pretty much it for the sky tonight. And then after that, I'll be showing a movie called Dynamic Earth. And I'll be talking about how our Earth does its thing. And I don't want to give too much away. I want you guys to come and see it.
Give us a little more. I'm like saying, well, what? I'm going to ask a question. Give us
The Dynamic Earth talks about what the Earth is doing. And we have volcanism. The Earth is not static. It's got oceans. It's got lots of things that are atmosphere, and all that provides the Earth provides cool stuff for its inhabitants, our people, and for our animals. So we'll see what the interconnection is between the Earth and the inhabitants of the Earth. We'll go
okay.
into the atmosphere and all sorts of pretty neat stuff.
Well, that is really exciting. Are you streaming that as well?
Well, that's not being streamed, but I mean it's right after I do the sky tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So the whole presentation is about 50 minutes, about 20 minutes for the sky tonight, and about 30 for the full dome video. And then we also will have questions because people always have questions after that.
What are some frequent questions people give you?
Oh, the kids ask the hardest questions. They always ask, for instance, what's a black hole? And it takes a while. I mean, not a while, but you don't want to give them short shrift, but you want to go into what a black hole is and how massive they are at the center of our galaxy. And kids will also ask, when we look up in the sky, how far can we see? Again, there's a whole bunch of stuff, stars. We look at the sky and we see stars. How far away are they? How bright are they? So you have to answer this in about 10, 15 seconds because other people are asking questions and you have the next show to go on. And you just want to give the students enough so that they understand it. And it's generally the kids who are the first to ask questions.
Well, a lot of times I'm sure this is kind of romantic, but I know when I grew up, I would lie in bed and look outside. I grew up in Ohio, cold winters, clear skies,
Uh-huh.
and I would just lie in bed and look at the stars.
Uh-huh.
Just imagine what was going on. It was wonderful.
Oh, yeah. It's really dreamy.
It is. I was going to say that. It's so dreamy. Speaking of dreamy, what are double stars?
Double stars. Well, okay, when you look at a star, generally it's single, one dot. But when you look at it through a pair of binoculars or a telescope, you may see two or more stars. And these are stars that are orbiting around each other, around what's called a common center of gravity. You do not see the stars move, but you will see stars that are different colors. And the colors tell you what the temperatures are. And you could also do that with binoculars. There's a book that tells you what kind of double stars are visible, even with just binoculars. And one of the coolest pairs is if you look at the handle, the star at the bend at the handle of the Big Dipper, which is really overhead about this time of year. There are two stars, Mizar, Mizar, and Alcor, Alcor. And if you look carefully, you may see two stars really, really close together. A lot of folks look up, okay, that's a cool star. I don't really see it. But then if your eyesight's pretty good, you may see two separate stars.
Are the double stars interdependent?
Well, when you say interest dependent, or do you mean,
Intra.
well, they orbit each other.
Ah,
And each star is composed of two other stars. So it's essentially a quadruple star system.
how does that occur?
Well, what happens when stars are formed? They form out of dust and gas. And some stars will form in pairs, as is the case for Mizar and Alcor. But these stars within Mizar and Alcor are so close together, your eye won't be able to distinguish them. You would have to look at their spectra to even know that. But a lot of stars, half the stars in the sky, are members of double or binary star systems. Our sun is an exception. When our sun was formed, there was no other partner for the sun. So our sun, in a way, is alone in that respect.
Is the Big Bang Theory still operative?
Is it still apropos to
Yes.
current knowledge? Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Big Bang is. You don't mean the TV show, do you? You mean the actual Big.
No.
Yeah. So the Big Bang, yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot that goes into the Big Bang. What was it? What was it not? And how do we have what we have now as a result of the Big Bang? So there's a lot that goes into that. I'm not sure if we have enough time.
So there's still continual study about that and
Yeah,
updating.
there is. There's also observations. A lot of orbiting spacecraft are looking at what's called the cosmic microwave background, which is sort of the fingerprint of the birth of the universe. And looking at the CMB, or cosmic microwave background, will tell you a lot about the universe. And actually, we have speakers. We have actually two speakers speaking at CSM. The first one is a former student of mine, and she's going to be talking about some cool stuff. She won a microcredit astronomy scholarship. Her name is Lexi Szabo.
Uh,
Szabo is the last name.
and she's going to speak on.
The project that she was working on with NASA called the Psyche, Psyche project, where NASA launched a spacecraft to visit this particular asteroid that's highly metal rich. So she's going to talk about her research in that.
And do you think eventually we'll be mining ore in stars and whatnot?
Not in stars, but in asteroids, probably.
Asteroids.
Yeah.
What's an asteroid?
An asteroid is a space rock. It's literally what was left over after the solar system formed. It's the stuff that's there. It never made it into a planet because Jupiter's presence prevented these things from accreting to a planet. So there's lots and lots of asteroids out there.
What role did Jupiter play? How did that happen?
Yeah, so Jupiter's the most massive planet in the solar system. And so as the solar system was forming, it ate up a lot of the material in the early solar system. Now, some of that material wasn't able to form into larger bodies like the planets, especially in the region between Mars and Jupiter. that's where we find the asteroid belt, the
Oh.
largest mass of asteroids in the solar system.
And do some of them ever like come through our solar system and come through our come, into the
Oh, sure. That was my when I was at the University of Hawaii, that was one of my internships. I worked for a telescope called Pan-STARRS. And we were looking for killer asteroids, asteroids that might someday possibly strike the Earth. So we scan the sky every single night, mapping all the trajectories, the paths of all the asteroids that we can see. And we play the movie forward basically and figure out if someday that asteroid might strike the Earth. We've seen things like this happen before in the past. In 1994, a giant comet, actually, in this case, hit the planet Jupiter and created explosions basically as big as the Earth. And so it's possible that we could be hit at some point in the future with one of these giant asteroids or comets. And so we want to know when it's going to happen. And we want to know if we can do something about it. Can we send up a probe to deflect it? Or do we just evacuate the area? Or do we have a big end of the Earth party? What do we do?
That is so interesting because that's what I was going to ask. I was saying, is there any way, like I know in Helsinki, they built real holes and living areas under the land, but I don't think that would even help.
Well, yeah, depending on how big it is, how it hits us, and a number of things, yeah, it may not help us. But we do have a number of ways that we think we can either deflect an asteroid or, like I said, we could certainly just evacuate the area if we knew it well enough in advance. These things, we can map these things out 100 years in the future. And so if we find it early enough, we'll know what to do.
Oh, that's comforting. How does one deflect an asteroid?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, well, some of you, I don't know, some of you may be familiar with a movie from the 90s called Armageddon, where we sent up Bruce Willis to one of the asteroids and blew it up with a nuclear bomb. And well, anyway, that's not exactly how you do it.
That's not feasible.
That's not feasible. No, because if you take an asteroid and you blow it up into a whole bunch of little pieces, it doesn't just go away. It just breaks up into a whole bunch of little pieces and it keeps coming at you. So you go from having a giant bomb to basically like a whole bunch of scatter shot that hits an entire side of the Earth. And that's much worse. So what we can do, think about a more or less, simplistic way of thinking about this is basically firing up a rocket, landing the rocket on the side of the asteroid, and just kind of nudging the asteroid off course. If you push it early enough, just a little nudge will give it enough of a change in its path that it won't hit us.
Okay, well, that doesn't seem, I mean, of course, it's difficult and technical, but it seems doable.
Well, we've done it before. Yeah. In fact, just recently, there was the mission called DART, where we actually did go up and send, in this case, kind of like almost like a ballistic missile, like a cannonball in a sense, to hit an asteroid, and we were able to knock it off course as we had predicted. And so we've been able to confirm that we can do this. That one wasn't actually threatening the Earth; it was just a proof of concept. But we know that we can do this now, and so we can deflect asteroids if we catch them early enough. We just need to find them.
I hear you. Well, I'm glad to hear that you've been tuning up and there's a plan, and you've actually done it. So, congratulations. That's very impressive.
Oh, yeah.
If you're just joining us, I'm Lucy Stovall. This is Places and Spaces, a community talk. We're welcoming Professors Darryl Stanford and Justin Stevick of the College of San Mateo. And gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. I want to talk about the CSM Observatory because it's pretty fancy.
Okay, so yeah, I'll take that one. So the CSM Observatory is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was really one of the reasons why I wanted to come and work here. We have this amazing facility on the top of our science building, rollback roof observatory with a bunch of telescopes where we can teach our students how to do what's called astrophotography, just taking pictures of galaxies and star clusters and nebulae, which are star-forming regions, and a bunch of really cool deep space stuff. And then once we get them hooked on photography, then we can teach them some of these scientific methods that we use to learn about the universe. In addition to photography, we do something called photometry, which is measuring the brightness of objects over time. With photometry, also, this is kind of my specialty. You can do searches for what are called exoplanets, planets around stars other than the sun outside of our solar system. So we've found thousands, not we at CSM, but we as a community, as the astronomers, we've found thousands of planets now around other stars. And many of them have been discovered just by seeing basically the planet pass in front of the star and watch the starlight dim just a little bit. We don't actually see the planet itself. It's too far away. But if we
Right.
see something kind of pass in front of and dim the starlight from a distant star on a kind of like a regular basis, once every couple months, once every year, then we can kind of deduce that there must be a planet going around that star,
Sure.
causing us to lose a little bit of starlight temporarily for just a few hours. And so we can learn a lot about the stars and the planet and its orbit just by looking at how the star dims over time. So that's called photometry. We teach our students how to do that. We also do spectroscopy, measuring the colors of objects that you see out in space. So you can learn about objects' composition by looking at what specific colors you're getting, because different gases give off different colors. And so we can figure out compositions. We can also measure the Doppler effect, how fast these things are moving towards us or away from us. So we can learn motion by doing spectroscopy as well. So like I said, we hook our students with pretty pictures, and then we get into the real meat of the science. It's really cool.
Right. But you know what? I don't know why, but I've always been interested in the Doppler effect,
Oh, yeah.
and retrograde motion and all that.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on up in the stars, more than I knew.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot.
what is your optical RSA, 4K hybrid digital optical RSA planetarium?
Well, our planetarium is what's called a hybrid because it has digital, which is the RSA, when you have optomechanical, which is the star ball. And star ball has is a way to project stars onto the dome that are really nice and pinpoint. So it resembles what we would see in the sky. And it's always good to have both. You have to sync them together such that when you put up the stars, you can also put up the constellations around them. And when people are looking at the sky in our planetarium, they get that feeling that they are outside looking at the stars. And a lot of the constellations do not look anything like their namesakes, not at all. So when you look at Orion, for example, does look like the hunter, because you can see his shoulders, you can see his knees, just with those stars, and three stars make in a row make his belt. But there are other constellations that are impossible. There's Cancer the Crab, which first of all is one of the faintest constellations. You cannot really see it. And when you do actually look at the stars, they don't make anything like a crab. But you put the image up there, people say, oh, okay, well, I'm not sure if it's really see a crab, but there's a crab.
It's
It's
abstract.
also a very large constellation that's been broken up into several smaller ones. There was this constellation called Ship Argo, and it's been broken up into constellation called the Sails, Veil of the Sails, and so on. And so there's a whole lot of interesting intrigue about the naming of the constellations, what they look like, where they are, and the stars, the brighter stars that are in these constellations.
Historically, who has been responsible or has the right to name the stars and constellations?
When you say historically, well, the Arab astronomers, their names are attached to a lot of the stars. For example, Betelgeuse comes from the Arabic bit al-Giz, which means armpit of the giant one.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's where it's located, in his armpit. Okay. And there are other star names, especially, let's try Aldebaran. A-L is the Arabic word for the. Aldebaran is the eye of Taurus, the bull. And that's literally the follower. It follows the Pleiades, which is a star cluster across the sky. Okay, so when you look at a lot of star names, if you see the word Al in front, generally that was an Arabic named star. Okay, the constellations that we see, the northern hemisphere, were named by the Greeks. We're at roughly the same latitude, and there's this mythology that goes with them. But constellations in the southern hemisphere that we can't see do not have that mythology. They were named by other travelers who named things after telescopes, for example, microscopes, fish, bird. There's even a toucan we call the Fruit Loops bird in the southern hemisphere. So there's a lot of wild constellations. So there was one called Noctua the owl, which they got rid of. I'm not sure why, because I like owls. But anyhow, there's a whole intrigue as to how this works with constellations.
Now, if I could hop in here,
Yeah.
there's really no. If it depends on what you mean by official, who officially gets to name these things. Every culture that looked at the sky had their own names for these stars, so it really depends on which culture you're following or which culture you're surrounded by. That's what determines what how you view the sky. So when I teach my classes, I really like to incorporate constellations from like Hawaii. Like I said, I used to work out in Hawaii, so I learned a lot of the Hawaiian constellations, and those were things that the people in the Hawaiian Islands were familiar with in their everyday lives. They looked up in the sky and they didn't see the same kind of things that the Greeks had seen or the Arabic people had seen. They saw things that were more relevant to their day-to-day lives.
Frame of reference
Yeah.
and perspective, I'm sure,
Yeah.
That is, you know what? I think you astronomers have more fun than you're letting on.
We have a good time.
Speaking of fun, Jazz Under the Stars, when, where? Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so Jazz Under the Stars. So that's at our observatory on the roof of our science building here at CSM. So if you like music, and you probably do if you're listening to this station, and in fact, you're going to like the type of music we play. We play jazz. We play you guys. We play KCSM. So
we'll give the soundtrack.
Yeah, you guys provide the soundtrack and we provide the narration. So a few of us within the department kind of trade off who's doing it, but we go up, a few of us will go up and we'll host a night under the stars playing some jazz music for you. This time we're just going to be playing the radio. Every once in a while we have a live jazz band that comes and plays for us. But what we're going to do from on May 11th from 8:30 to 10:30, we're going to open our doors.
Saturday.
That's Saturday night. Yep. We are going to open our doors and put out our telescopes. I'll be out there. Darryl's going to be out there. We'll be having our green laser pointers pointing out stars and constellations, talking about mythology, talking about star names, all the stuff we've been talking about today. We'll be expanding on that and kind of pointing it out in the sky that night. We're going to use our telescopes to look at things like the craters on the moon. It's going to be a first quarter moon that night. So we'll look at the craters on the moon. We'll look at any star clusters and maybe galaxies that are visible. Like I said, we'll point out constellations and we'll talk science all night long, answer any questions that you guys have. And it's free. So just come and hang out. Although we can, just so you know, every once in a while, we do have to cancel because we're weather dependent. Our telescopes can't look through the clouds. So if there's clouds or rain, we unfortunately have to shut down.
I was going to ask you about that because, fog, FOG,
Oh, yeah.
Control it.
It gets us sometimes. And it can be unpredictable.
Oh, yeah. As you say, you just got to roll with it.
No, so what happens is Darryl and I, the day of the event, we watch the weather all day long. We're looking at weather reports, multiple weather reports. and if anything does look like we won't be able to host the event that night, if the weather's going to cancel us for whatever reason, there's clouds, fog, rain, anything, we'll put it on our website and we'll put notes on the door. So unfortunately, we do have to cancel last minute every once in a while, but the weather next week actually looks pretty good as of today.
Well, it's getting to be the good time of year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nice. Hopefully clear skies. We'll see.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I learned so much, and the party sounds fantastic. It's Jazz Under the Stars next Saturday, the 11th, at College of San Mateo at the observatory on the roof. I love roof parties.
Yeah. Just come to Building 36, walk in the door, take the elevator all the way to the 4th floor, and you'll find us.
Looking forward. And we are thanking Professor Darryl Stanford and Justin Stevick of the College of San Mateo. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're very welcome, Leslie. We're happy to do so.
This was great.
Those were astronomy professors Darryl Stanford and Justin Stevick. Coming up next is jazz musician David Eshelman, who will discuss his compositions and performances at KCSM 91.1, kcsm.org. KCSM Jazz 91.1. Good morning. I'm Leslie Stovall. We stream at kcsm.org. In the studio, we've got David Eshelman, trombonist, conductor, and arranger, composer, the Jazz Garden Big Band. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How about you?
Oh, I'm good. Well, one question I wanted to ask you was it seems like there's so much, this is a revival of big bands, like all the new music I get in at the station. I'd say like maybe 50% is big band, from the
Wow.
Flying Horse to the Diva, because it's not cheap putting those organizations together.
You can say that again. Well, this band has been playing around the Bay Area for 46 years. And the model I've used is not to try to play every week for gas money, but to try to find, some decent opportunities for the band to play for a nice audience and be paid a decent wage. So we don't burn up the track as far as playing a lot.
Well, that seems debilitating, the touring and then recording and touring. I mean, if you can stay at home and people come to you, I think that's a good plan, you know?
A lot of the members of the band I ran the jazz program at Cal State Hayward for 22 years and taught for 35 years. And a lot of members I met when they were playing in my student bands, and they've kind of developed into artists of their own, fully mature artists now, certainly. And they've stuck with me. So that's really kind of a gratifying thing.
That is a great tribute. So now you are a trombonist, conductor,
Yes.
arranger, and composer.
Yeah. It hasn't been easy. They'll all conflict with each other because they all require time. But it's something that I've learned to manage. And, each one supports the other in ways of improvement and growth.
Well, I think that's a great way to put it. What trombonist do you listen to today who's up and coming, who you think's got a bright future?
I just heard your choice yesterday, Nick Finzer.
Oh yeah, isn't he great?
He's wonderful. I haven't heard him before, and I just was checking it out, and I thought he was really good. I don't know much about him.
Well, I don't know that much either, but I do know that I was reading about, the Duke Ellington and the gentleman who played trumpet and the plunger, and he's carrying on that tradition.
Mm. Yeah, and he's got
That
this
sound.
project out for J.J. Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That's really
I
nice.
played shortcake, I think.
Yes, and I got a chance to, when I was in high school, I bought my first J.J. Johnson album. It was called Blue Trombone.
I just love the way the trombone looks physically. I just
Well,
think it's such an interesting instrument.
it is. It is. It's a difficult instrument, but it's right there with a human voice, and yeah, it's got that relatability, I think.
Okay, the human voice, just like the cello said, it's be close to the human voice.
True.
So you have some gigs coming up now that the weather's getting bright and wonderful. You on Friday the 17th at the Jazz Conservatory.
That's right. Yeah,
So
and
what are you gonna be
yeah.
doing?
Well, we're going to be doing some things out of my book, some originals and some arrangements that I've done. Some of them quite early on. Horace Silver was a big influence on me, and so I wrote some pieces dedicated to him and wrote some arrangements of his tunes. We're going to do some Coltrane. We're going to do some John Abercrombie and Mike Stern pieces, and then originals from some of my CDs.
Give me the name of some of your CDs and some of your original music that I'm sure people will be loving to hear on Friday.
Oh, well, we did the first CD we did was called The Jazz Garden, and the first tune on that we're going to play, it's called Dance of the Scorpion. We also have some things from later CDs. We have one called Arrangement of Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. We have original called Catch Me Up, which is dedicated to Chick Corea. I got to know him a little bit. And a tune called Mystique. And then I have some arrangements of Ralph's Piano Waltz, which is John Abercrombie's composition,
Hmm.
and Amazing Grace combined with Mo Better Blues. We do that in a tune called The L Bird by Mike Stern. Then Horace Silver's Netville. So yeah, we have a variety of styles and a variety of energy levels there.
Yeah, I was going to say probably, what was that? Scorpion was one.
Dance of the Scorpion, yeah.
Is that kind of intense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was- yeah,
You
I
want to
was just,
introduce it?
do I want to introduce it?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Tell us about it. Be DJ.
Hi, this is Dave Eshelman, and we're going to listen to Dance of the Scorpion. And I had a chance to write this for my college band when I was going to school in Los Angeles, and I had a chance to meet Don Ellis, and Don asked me to write something for his band, so I adopted this for his band, and he played it on tour all over the place. It was the only year he didn't record his band, unfortunately. But here is Dance of the Scorpion.
All right, on KCSM. KCSM.org 91.1 KCSM. Thank you so much. That was marvelous. So, how did you get the name the Jazz Garden Big Band? What inspired you to say that?
Well, I taught at San Jose City College for 11 years. And we used to do concerts out in a really nice park called the Rose Garden in San Jose. And we would do jazz and classical concerts. They had, a really nice amphitheater with redwood trees all around it. And I was putting together this band and just trying to think of what to call it. And it seemed like an easy adaptation to move it over to the Jazz Garden, which lends itself to a lot of parallels in the, in terms of growth and making opportunities and chances for people to do what they do.
And that's very special because a lot of times people just need a chance, a place to perform.
Yeah.
And then 7 o'clock Saturday, the next day, you guys are working hard. Las Positas College in Livermore, plus the LPC student compositions. Tell us about that.
Yes. Dan Marshak runs the program there along with Cindy Brown, and they got the idea of inviting my big band to come in. They applied for a grant, and I've been over there talking to their students about big band writing on 4 different occasions since the school year started. And they've been working hard on preparing original compositions. And so we're going to go in on Thursday and read them down along with the students and try to help shape them and get them ready for public performance. And then 2 days later on Saturday, May 18th, 7 p.m., we will premiere all these pieces along with some pieces of mine.
Do you get nervous playing your own music, own
No.
compositions?
No, not really. No.
Do you ever get any surprises how people, the musicians are interpreting what you wrote?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh,
I have a lot of music that's been published that's published for school bands to buy and perform. And I've gotten some very interesting cassettes and tapes over the years. One was a elementary school in Japan playing one of my compositions. It was really something. Nothing like I would have imagined it.
can you
But
describe it? The performance?
well, that's tough. It was pretty rigid, I would say. Um, I had a chance to tour Japan with a band in 1970, and we got to play opposite some really great university bands there, and they were incredible. They sounded like bassy,
Mm.
but the soloists weren't as good, and I would imagine that's changed now. But this band was very young, and of course, young people tend to, you know, not to play terribly loose or laid back, say. So had a lot of forward, let's say forward leaning energy to it.
Well, they got all that energy at that age.
Oh
So,
yeah.
if you're just joining us, I'm Leslie Stovall. This is Places and Spaces, community talk. Speaking of big band leaders, we're highlighting Duke Ellington on our fundraiser, KCSM. What made him so special as a big band leader and composer, and did he write all that music, or did Billy Strayhorn? When did Billy Strayhorn stop and Duke begin?
Yeah. Well, that's been a subject of many books and documentaries. Uh, I wouldn't have any inside information on that, but I have read the books and watched the documentaries, and I can see that partnership. It makes a lot of sense musically, and boy, some of the compositions Billy Strayhorn came up with. One of the tunes that I've been listening to. I have a youth band up at the jazz school in Berkeley, and we've been working on a four tune Duke Ellington medley.
How's that going?
Oh, they're doing great. We start out with the old version of A Train, and gosh, I'm blanking on the second tune now. It's a piano solo that Duke recorded, and it's on a video from 1950s on CBS. He plays it. Um, it's such a beautiful tune. I
Well, you
can't
have
remember
to
the
get
name
back
of
to
it.
us when you get that information.
Yeah, and then we go on and we play Heaven from his second sacred concert, which is so gorgeous. And then
Duke
we
Ellington did a lot of film work. I know.
yeah, I'm not as familiar with a lot of that,
Mae
but I
West
do.
hired him
Oh,
because she and they asked, "Why'd you hire Duke Ellington?" She said, "Because he's the best there is."
yeah. Well, I mean, you listen to that music; it's completely unique. It's it doesn't he doesn't use formulaic systems to write. It's
What do
all
you mean by
original.
that?
Well,
Formula.
a formulaic system might be when you're in this situation and this is in the melody, this position of the chord is in the melody, you use this voicing. So he doesn't do that. He writes independent lines more than block chord voicings, although he does do block chord voicings too. And they're somewhat unorthodox in a lot of ways, I guess, just because he manages to make notes that people would not normally use fit and sound in the entire product. He makes it work. Um,
And that's the genius, right?
oh yeah, I mean he's one of the tops for sure. I got a chance to work with Gerald Wilson when I lived in Los Angeles for on and off for 4 years, and Gerald knew Duke and would talk about him. Um, he knew everybody. He would talk about everybody actually.
He said,
But
I bet that was a good historical reference.
it was incredible. He taught a history of jazz class at Northridge, where I went to school, and I was his TA. He'd go out to the car and he'd open up his trunk and it'd be full of LPs.
Oh, he said,
He'd fish one out and he'd say, "Oh, Ella Fitzgerald, let's talk about her tonight." And we go in and he'd tell stories about Ella Fitzgerald, because he knew Ella Fitzgerald, he knew Louis Armstrong, et cetera, et cetera. So that was really great connection to a lot of these figures that I've heard and listened to for so long.
well, you need to go on tour, go to the 96th Street Y in New York and give a talk.
Yeah.
Because it's so interesting. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I thought, wow, I was just taken away with your stories.
Oh, thank you.
So, David, Mr. Eshelman, once again, you are a composer, a conductor, an arranger, and trombonist. What is your favorite? What do you like to do the most of all those charges?
Well, that's a tough question. I really like arranging. I really like trying to do something special with existing material. Um, I love composing. I love writing original material, and I love playing the horn. It's really it's like asking what's your favorite child.
Right, right. But it's just so wonderful. Everything you're doing is intro relatable, and it's like Pistons. in a car. You know, they're all
That's
working on
true.
all cylinders. We want to let people know where they can get a hold to see you guys play, and when and where.
We'll be at the California Jazz Society, Rendon Hall, on May 17th, 8 p.m. And the next night, for those of you who aren't in the Berkeley area, we'll be at Las Positas College. This is May 18th, 7 p.m. Las Positas College at the Mertes Performance Center in Livermore.
And for tickets and show details, it says showtix4u.com.
If you just put it in Jazz Garden, Las Positas, or Jazz Garden, CJC, California Jazz Conservatory, you will get a hit right away that shows you how to get tickets.
Hey, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure talking with you. We learned so much.
Oh, thank you, Leslie. I appreciate it. It's really fun being here.
Oh, good. Well, we'll have to have you back.
Okay.
All right. KCSM Jazz 91.1. This is Places and Spaces. We just talked with David Eshelman, trombonist, conductor, and arranger, composer, the Jazz Garden Big Band, kcsm.org, 91.1 KCSM.
and spaces I've been. All the places and spaces I've been. All the places and spaces I've been. All the places and spaces I've been.
Places and Spaces, produced here at KCSM FM, located at the College of San Mateo. Executive producer and host is Leslie Stovall. Producer and audio engineer is Rudy Evenhouse.
Thank you for tuning in to Places and Spaces.